Greetings, subscribers and visitors alike. Today, the message that I want to share with you is on evangelism. It's going to be perspectives on evangelism. Now, back in 1979, when I was in Boone, North Carolina, we had gone from Alaska to Boone, North Carolina to start a church, which we did. A pastor and his wife and two college students and my wife and I started a church there called Watauga Christian Center. And after maybe about a year or so, I was ordained as an evangelist, and they laid hands on me and ordained me as an evangelist. Now, the thing about it is, the paradigm that I was working with at the time was an Arminian paradigm, which means that all of my education, as it were, as far as evangelism was concerned, would have been from like Billy Graham or Charles Finney. So everything was based on the fact that if I shared the gospel and somebody didn't accept Jesus, then, well, maybe I wasn't 100% successful. And it meant that I didn't have as much confidence in what I was actually sharing. Not that I didn't believe it, but how effective I was. And we even went to Africa, and we're in Africa for pretty much 3 years. Some of it was in the Netherlands, but we were in Africa. And I shared with people there also, still under the same paradigm that I had. Now we're going to fast forward. We're fast forwarding to, probably about 30 some odd years later. And here, after being retired, I started to study the scriptures, and I started to do a lot of research. And the things that I found out, I discovered people like the Primitive Baptists, for instance, and what Calvinists believe. Not that Primitive Baptists are Calvinists, because they're not. And as I did that, I discovered that I was sharing the gospel in an altogether incorrect way, and it wasn't even sharing the whole gospel. The whole gospel now, speaking about who Jesus is and what he did on the cross. Of course now I have a confidence that I never had before. And that confidence has to do with the fact that, when I share the gospel with people, there is not one elect person that is not going to end up in heaven. So I am 100% successful in sharing the gospel with every single elect person that I share it with. So all of you Primitive Baptists out there, and people talk about Primitive Baptists not being evangelistic. Well, of course they're evangelistic because they understand that every single person, every elect person that they share the gospel with, none of them are going to be in hell. So how could you miss? How much more motivation do you need than you're batting 1,000? And that's what we do. We tell people about Jesus, and we understand that not one of the elect of God is going to be in hell, and every single one of them is going to be in heaven. You can't miss. Sharing your faith is very easy when you understand that you're going to be totally successful. Isn't that a blessing? And don't you realize that before the foundation of the world, God chose every single person that was going to be with him in glory, and none of them are lost. That is the confidence that Primitive Baptists have in sharing the gospel, knowing that they are 100% successful every single time, and that nobody that they share it with, that God has elected before the foundation of the world, is going to be lost. None of them. Many blessings to you, and you Primitive Baptists out there, take heart. Don't let somebody tell you that you're not evangelistic, because you have to be evangelistic knowing that you can't lose. Every single one of those elect people you talk to will be in heaven. Many blessings and bye-bye.